Hello, happy Tuesday everyone. I am Gina Zwig with Positive Life Dog Training, and it is Tuesday, April 20th. I hope everyone is doing well. I am coming to you from Naples, Florida, and it is super humid. I am sitting partly outside out on the lanai, and Rory's out here with me. And it was the one place where we had some decent lighting and I could keep him sort of contained. So very humid. You will see my hair just morph into something like cotton candy, but that's just all part of it. So I hope everyone is doing well. Today is a little bit different. I'm not necessarily going to be doing tips or this is how you do this or that, but just kind of some real life stuff. We've had some, as the title said, a couple unexpected things. And in this last week, so it was a week ago, Monday, that we last had our live, and I feel like a lot of things have happened. Not necessarily all bad, but I'm sure a lot of things have happened in your life since then too. A week and a day, a lot can happen. So last week I had told you that part of the reason we were talking on Monday instead of Tuesday is because Tuesday I was bringing Rory to his first day of daycare, which I thought was a good idea. I felt pretty good about it. As I had explained, I talked to the owner, and it seemed like he was ready on his socializing journey as to where he is with other dogs. He's had all good experiences and really seems to enjoy it. So, and selfishly, I really had a lot I wanted to get done that day. So that did not go as planned. First, I didn't find out until much later when I entered my registration. I entered my phone number wrong. So they didn't have my correct phone information to get a hold of me, because when I dropped them off, they said, oh, we'll text you videos and photos throughout the day. And then I wasn't hearing anything, and I thought I should just call and check in. And then the time got away, and then I also thought, well, I don't want them to think I'm just like, crazy, and I thought I'll just wait. And then I had an appointment, and then anyway, I ended up picking them after that, and they said, did you get our texts? I said, no, I didn't get anything. And they said, we've been texting you and you didn't hear anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, well, is he okay? And she said, well, he's okay. Like, your heart just drops. And she said that later in the day, like earlier, they were texting me just like fun photos and videos of him with the other dogs. And then later in the day, a French bulldog that I guess he was playing with got into a snit and actually bit him on the nose, and he got a big gash on his formerly perfect little snout, and I just felt so bad. I didn't really sleep at all that night. I just felt horrible. And then, since then, not that it's wrong for anyone to go to doggy daycare, but you do need to just, decide for yourself what's right, what feels right. And so for us right now, it does not feel right. Like, no one did anything wrong. Like, they weren't negligent. And I'm not going to mention the name of the place because I don't want to, badmouth them in any way. I feel like she tried her best to communicate with me, and, it just happened. It's a bunch of dogs. It wasn't even a lot of dogs in the one room, and a lot of them were, similar size. But anyway, if you want to see Rory, you can see his little gash. Oh, I gave him this like beef stick thing that I thought would keep him busy for a while, and it's gone already. But see if you can see. Can I do like switch it to, oh, I can. Okay. Hey buddy, can we see your nose? Look at that. Do you see it? Oh, can you hold still for 1 second? See that gash on his snout? And that's exactly a week. And it's healing nicely. I put Neosporin on it, and it's going to be fine. And I'm believing that his hair is going to grow back, and it's just going to be as perfect as it was. But I just felt so bad for him. But he wasn't traumatized at all. Since then, since we've been in Florida, we took him to kind of a crowded farmer's market here, and I wanted to see how he did. I thought, well, we'll just leave if it seems to be too much. And he, of course, he was a total celebrity being a puppy, and he just enjoyed, you know, people would come up to him, and he loves everybody, and he interacted a little bit with other dogs. There were puppies that were there, and he was just really happy. So he hasn't been fearful around other dogs or people or anything, so I'm so thankful for that. But one of the videos, I was going to say, just one of the things that kept me up that night is that one of the videos that, or really all of the videos that she sent me, the owner of this daycare where he got bit, she said, oh, here he is playing with this other little boxer puppy who was little and so cute. But Rory I never saw him playing, at least in those videos. He was just kind of standing around looking like he didn't know what to do. So I just felt super bad about that. Maybe he would have eventually, but we're just not going to do that right now. Hi, Karen. Welcome. So there was that. And of course, you know, you just feel bad, and I don't know what I would have done differently, really. I mean, had I known, obviously, I wouldn't have taken him if I knew that was going to happen, but I didn't. And so I'm just going to keep saying, it's like we go with the information we have in the moment, and we do our best. And then the next thing was just kind of how things go unexpectedly. Well, our drive down here, we decided to drive. You might have seen from one of my other posts that, well, we were going to drive anyway, but sometimes we would like to fly with Rory, but we're already realizing he's just too big to fit under that seat in a little carrier. So anyway, we drove down, which would normally be about a 14-hour drive, and so with all of the stops for him, it was about 15 hours. And he did so well. He just sits in his little seat that I have for him, and he's got a harness. He's harnessed in, and he mostly just lays there the whole time. The thing was, okay, whoever is here, if you would comment, how do I ask this? How many times do you think we had to stop for him to go potty on the way down on this? How many times do you think he went potty on the way down on this 15-hour drive? Just take a guess. Hi, Janice. Nice to see you. Okay, Janice, anybody, Karen, take a guess. How many times do you think Rory went potty on the way down on our 15-hour drive? And then the second question is, how many times do we stop? So normally we would probably stop maybe for just us like 4 times. Oh, nice, Janice. Okay, so guessing that Rory went potty 4 times. Well, normally we would stop 4 times, and then we thought, well, we'll probably stop other times too. And we were trying to look, in addition to normal gas stations that we would go to, we were looking for waysides so it's not as busy, so a little more grassy area so he could go and spend a little time. Good guess, Karen. You will not believe it. Karen said 10. Which is reasonable because he's a 4-month-old puppy. We didn't know either. So we just kept stopping thinking, well, he must have to go. And every time we would stop, I would offer him water, and he didn't always drink it, but he, you know, would sometimes drink the water. I just have to see where he is. Oh, he's in the corner, laying in the corner, sorry. He can't go too far here, but I'd like to know what he's doing. Oh, I see his reflection. He's just laying so sweetly. Anyway, we stopped so many times and he wouldn't go. He wasn't freaked out or afraid on the ride or even at the stops, but just so distracted. You know, it's just all the semis and the cars and the people and other dogs and blowers and you name it. He never peed for the entire 15-hour drive. Every time we stopped, and it was like stressful for us because we're thinking, he's got to be in agony. It literally was, okay, it was a 15-hour drive, but actually he, went potty like a little bit before we left the house, so a little bit more than that. And then he didn't even go right away when we got here because then he was distracted when we got here. So now we know this boy can hold it for 15 hours, although he could not possibly have been comfortable. But he just couldn't do it. I don't know if it was stage fright or what, but he didn't do it. And so now for us, we learned we probably don't need to stop as often, and that he, I know, Karen, you think, oh, yeah, Janice says, you would think he would cry and get antsy. He never did. Like, he would just go to sleep. And he never acted uncomfortable. It is unbelievable. I know. We couldn't believe it. And then, yeah, when we got here, it's like, it took a while. You know, he didn't know where he was. He had never been here before. But he finally went for a long time, as you can imagine. And everything's been all normal, all systems go since then. And he hasn't had any accidents in the house. And he's, you're right, Karen, he kind of is perfect. I know, that's so braggy. He does do naughty things too, but because he's a puppy. But, oh my gosh, now he's under this little table by his, can you see just his head? No, he's kind of hiding, you can't see him. I'll show him again. But yeah, he's so good in the car. He doesn't do anything. But for us, it was like, we're like, oh my gosh, we're so stressed because every stop, it would be like, you know, we'd give him 15 minutes to try to get comfortable and go, and he just never did. So anyway, we finally made it. So that was the second thing. He got the little bite on his nose. Then the ride down was not quite as expected, and then we hit a lot of traffic and construction, and it just wasn't the most relaxing ride, which, you know, on a 15-hour ride, a lot of things can happen. But, you know, we were safe. We made it safely, so that's all good. And then the third thing is, this is so weird. This is the thing that's like, is still mysterious to me, and one of those things that makes me feel like I just don't know what I'm doing. And, oh, hi Karen, you have 2 male litter mates, 5 months old. Oh, you've got your hands full. I bet you have some stories. I would love to know if you have traveled with them yet. So yeah, yeah, I would love to hear about that. So here in Naples, there is this horrible kind of toad. I think there are other places too, but they didn't originate here. They're not native to here. They're called cane toads. But I recently heard another name, actually the vet on the records, which I'll tell you about, called them, referred as bufo, like B-U-F-O, I think, bufo toad. I'm assuming that's the same thing. I think they originated somewhere, some sugar cane field somewhere, and then they made their way here. I don't know if they were brought here on purpose or by accident, but it's like a plague. They're gigantic. They're like, when they're full grown, they're like this big. Okay, well, maybe not as big as my head. This is not in perspective. Really big and gross. And they can kill, they're poisonous to other small animals. So if a dog licks one or puts one, like gets one in their mouth, dead or alive, they can be dead in 15 minutes. So it like attacks their nervous system. It like gets in their gums and then is absorbed that way. It's just so terrifying. I've done a fair amount of research since then. So I've known that they were here, and so we've been just really careful, like at night. And at night is when they come out. So when he has to go potty at night, you know, I've got a flashlight. I'm careful about where he goes. He doesn't just go in the yard without us seeing. But yesterday morning, I just had him out on a regular walk on the road, and then on our way back, you know, I just let him sniff a little bit. He's sniffing like wood chips, and so he's just sniffing like, well, this is cool. He's done so good on his walk. Let him just chill for a bit. And so I'm just daydreaming. And then I looked, he came away from it. I looked, and here the whole time he was sniffing a dead cane toad. So right away I'm Googling, like, are dead toads still poisonous? Through every stage of life and death, yes, they are still poisonous. And I don't know if he licked it or not, or, you know, if he was just sniffing, but he was like kind of licking his chops when he came away. I'm like, oh my God. And so we got home and I'm reading what you do. And so I took a Norwex cloth and I was just like wiping out his gums and his tongue. I just kept doing it. And he's like, what are you doing? Kept coming at him with that. And so he seemed okay. But then as the morning went on, he just seemed so not himself, like not completely lethargic, but just not himself, like where he would normally be running around playing. He's just such a happy little boy. He's so bouncy and happy, and some of the times he's getting into things, but you know, he's super playful, like, and you know, a normal puppy. And he was just laying down, which is just so not like him. He was eating and drinking, but just laying down, like, this just doesn't seem normal. And then the more I read, and then I called a couple of, I couldn't get him in anywhere, and they said, based on what you're saying, you should get him in today. They said you should probably bring him into an emergency vet just to be sure. So then that, of course, scared me, and I finally got him in somewhere. Okay, backing up, there's another piece of that, oh, Janice says you're camping for the first time with Molly. How's it going, and how are they in your RV, Janice? I would love to know. And can they just move around how they want? So I'm so curious about that. I wouldn't even know how to do that. Very brave of you, but I can see how that could be a really fun thing for you and Molly and Jazzy. Good. Okay, so the night before, not yesterday, so the night before that, we went to hang out with some friends at their house, and they, because of the cane toads, so they have an older dog that we wanted them to meet, and we did it carefully. So I brought Rory's pen, and so some of the time we had him in the pen so that the other dog, my little friend Riley, he could kind of approach Rory if he wanted to, and then eventually they had access to each other some of the time, and they actually did great. They did really well. Riley was just kind of neutral toward Rory, which was good. It was very good. We couldn't have hoped for better. But as it went on, in the evening when it got dark, I put Rory in his pen because we didn't want him going on the grass with the toads, the gross poisonous toads, where we couldn't see him. And so he was in his pen, and then he was just being so good, and he would just lay down while we were eating. And then at one point he just like popped up all of a sudden, like maybe he got bit by something, but he didn't yelp or anything. And then, this is so, yes, Karen said potty breaks can be nightmares. One goes out, pees on a dime, and comes back in the other. Can I just read this? When you offer, I'm gonna go through, and then you keep going through the same thing again. I know, and it can take forever. And then like the people get stressed, and you know, try not to make the dogs stressed. So I feel like we'll get better at this as we go on. I think just with practice and just getting more relaxed about it, figuring each other out, and travel styles, potty styles. But anyway, I don't know for sure if he got bit, but here's the first weird thing that happened. Then he was fine. And then we all were inside, like saying our goodbyes, and the two dogs were inside, and then we're all inside. And somebody just reached his hand out to Rory, like wasn't even touching him. And mind you, Rory loves everybody. He's not afraid of anybody. He's so happy when someone gives him attention. And so he just reached toward him. He hadn't even touched him. And Rory yelped, like a really scary, like, "Arr, arr," like that. And then he like kind of cowered, which just we're like, we have no idea what just happened. And so, you know, it was like a pain cry, and just so goofy and mysterious. And we're like, we just have no idea what that was. We're just like making wild guesses because we were all kind of right there. And then that night, so then we got home, and that night my husband was just, you know, doing his usual, like Rory went up to him and he does his usual, like, ooh, you know, just sweet, like petting him. And then Rory did it again. He yelled like that and kind of like ran away and hit. So something really hurt him. We didn't know what. And then couldn't figure out what it was. Like, he has not done anything like that. Has no injury that we know of. And so then yesterday morning, after the toad incident, then I was just kind of like feeling his ears and stuff. I just wanted to make sure nothing was going on. And then I was just like scratching it, you know, like here. And then he did that big yelp again. And so like, okay, something, he has a bite or something. So then when it was time to take him to the vet, I told him about that too, which did seem completely unrelated. And so, sorry. Oh my gosh, it's been 20 minutes already. Long story long, it was one of those emergency vets, at least this one, where I couldn't go in with him, and y'all, I was just beside myself by the time I got there. I was so scared. I was just like, I don't want to get emotional now, but I was just sobbing, and I was just so worried and scared. And I'm sure you all know how that is. You don't know what's going on, and you just feel like, you know, your dog is suffering. It's like, well, you know, where did I fail him? And I just felt so bad for him. They can't speak for themselves, and they were like super nice. They came out and got him, but I waited, you know, I don't know, they were busy, and I don't really know what they were all doing, examining him, but they were, you know, we weren't the only ones there. And so we were there for over an hour, and they called me and asked for more information, and the vet called and said, the good news is he was not poisoned. Doesn't show any symptoms of poisoning from the toad. So I was like, oh, thank God. And then they did a thorough exam of like pressing and all the areas, checking away in his ears, and they couldn't find anything. And she said, you could do x-rays, or we could prescribe him some pain meds. Like he could have bone pain from just growing really fast. He could have had a muscle strain. His teeth, losing some of his teeth, his baby teeth. Oh my gosh. Okay, can you see? He just fell asleep in the corner. Oh, you know what? I did give him that pain medication, and it's gabapentin. I think I'm going to now in the future give him a half, because he can have one twice a day for his size, and I gave him one this morning. He took about, but he hasn't, I think he's tired too because of a lot of activity. And yesterday he didn't get much rest and was pretty, not traumatized, but it was a lot. And so he's tired from that too. So, but he took like, I don't know, 4.5 hour nap like just before this, and got up like half an hour before I gave him lunch, and he's just sound asleep in the corner here. It's so cute though. But I do think he's okay, but I think maybe I don't know, skip a day with that. I'm not even sure what the pain is, so I just don't want that to happen. We decided we're not gonna touch him around his head for a couple of days so it doesn't happen again, whatever it is. And then, so I'll just try to figure it out. So my point is, I don't really have that much of a point, but I wanted to catch you up on all of that and just say, I did put this in my notes too, because I know I always lose my train of thought. But, just sometimes when unexpected things happen, we simply don't know what to do. And like all of those events that I was telling you about, mostly just confusing. And it's sometimes like we aren't going to have an answer right away. And it's okay. It's just part of life. We are not going to have everything figured out. I want you to know I don't have all of the answers, and I hope I don't ever come off sounding like that. Like with giving tips, I like to teach and I like to give tips, but I want you to know that I definitely do not have all of the answers. And when things like this happen, I just feel so much more empathetic for other people that are either going through something or just don't have answers or just find current events confusing. And also to acknowledge that these events were stressful, but I fully realize they're not earth-shattering, and everybody's going to be okay. And there are a lot of people with way worse things going on in your lives. So I just want to acknowledge that I am well aware of that. But I do really think, man, people are going through a lot worse than this, and it just does make you feel more empathy. And for me, I was just going to say that for me, when I am experiencing a time like that where, what is going on, I don't know what to do, I really rely on my relationship with God. It's just, my relationship with God is one of the most important things in my life, and prayer, and reaching out to dear, he got up, friends and family, and their prayers. And it used to be harder for me to do that, to reach out, like when you really need help, you know, or you're struggling with something, to, you know, admit that and then reach out and say, hey, I'm not doing the greatest. I could use some prayer, not necessarily in just this situation, but any. And so yesterday I sure did, reached out to people that I know and love and who I know are going to pray. And they did, and prayed for us. And I just thought, I don't know what I would do without the people in my life who love us. Now I'm going to get emotional because I'm just very thankful. I'm very thankful, not just that, you know, that Rory is okay, but for friends and dear people who care and who pray. And so I would just say that, you know, when you have a time like that, do reach out. And I would love to hear here in comments, or if you're watching the recording, feel free to comment or message me privately. If you've experienced anything similar, for one thing, if you have any hint on this mystery ouchiness with Rory, I'm not necessarily asking for answers. The point of this is not to ask for answers, but, you know, if somebody's watching this and you're like, oh, we had a similar thing, I would love to hear about that. But just anything, even not related, not even dog related, but that you have felt similar to what I'm sharing here, please feel free to share that. I think it's really encouraging to other people too. You know, I think when we share things like that, it kind of frees other people up to be themselves and to say, I also do not have everything figured out. So I always appreciate hearing that from other people. And then I wanted to mention that this week, so normally after Tuesday tips, I do, you know, kind of a quick tip and then touch on my video blog, which comes out the next day, which is usually goes into more depth with some demos. I decided that this week, partly because of the craziness and it just feels right to me, this video is going to be the blog for this week. So I'm just going to post that. It's not going to be all edited with a cool background. It's just going to be this. So this is also the video blog for this week. And then next week, if all goes well, this is what I was going to do this week. I'm very excited about this. But it's just, for one thing, it's raining and it wasn't gonna work with the way our day went yesterday. But so something that I've been working on with Rory, and we do work on every day with leash walking, leash training, because it's so important to me. Like walking my dog is a big, important part of our life. It's important to me, it matters. And I wanna have a good walker, an enjoyable walk for both of us. So we started training that before I ever put the leash on him, before we went on the road, just in the backyard, building a value for him, walking with me at my side, mostly at my side. And so I was going to demonstrate that, and partly just the time didn't work out, the weather, and then just everything. But the other part of that is because he had been, not so much today, but like kind of skittish around us, because me going after him with the cloth and wiping the inside of his mouth again and again, and then him yelping when we would touch him, he's been skittish. And so understandably, wouldn't you? He doesn't know what's going on either. And so to do a video of him walking with me, I feel like wouldn't be optimal right now, to be honest. So if all goes well, that is what should be coming down the pike next week. And then we will talk about that in the Tuesday tip. I've got some quick tips for you about that. And I just love it because it's not about, I'll explain all that, but it's not really about the leash, but it's really about your dog having a value for walking with you, and not you running after your dog or him pulling you along with the leash. So anyway, thank you so much for listening today. I hope you all have a wonderful and very blessed Tuesday. I am blessed by everyone who watches, and I will see you back here next week. I love you guys.